Okay, at this point in time, I'm delighted to invite Julie Smith-David to come forward, and she will introduce our speaker today. Julie?
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. I'm really pleased to be introducing Ruth McCartney to you today. You're going to quickly recognize at the start of her presentation that her childhood is simultaneously going to seem very familiar to you and incredibly unbelievable. Familiar because if you're at least my age, you grew up watching Ruth McCartney's childhood, at least from a distance. Unbelievable because I can't imagine what the ride has been like that she's been on. Now, what she's going to be too humble to tell you is that she also has an international reputation as a world-class entertainer of her own. I would like to raise your hands if you've been on a multi-city tour with helicopter junkets between different venues in Siberia. Ruth, the accountants, that's not kind of what our history is. But she's been a performer on her own, but she's also written Billboard top songs. She's produced videos. She's been the subject of documentaries, and she's had her work nominated for an MTV Video Award. That seems pretty far from what we do. But the reality is, she's gone from there, and she's coupled that understanding of an industry, the depth and the insights, with also an understanding of business and technology. And so she's been working on how to develop technologies that will allow different industry leaders to capture information, translate all of the information that's available over the internet to make data-driven decisions. So as an information systems person and as a managerial accountant, she does exactly what we'd love to be doing. So I could introduce Ruth to you as an honorary managerial accountant. But I think when you call home tonight, that's probably not what you're going to be saying. I imagine that you're going to tell your family and your friends that you partied with a rock star at lunch. So with that, I'll let Ruth explain her history and the insights that she's gained from the internet. Thanks for joining us, Ruth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julie. What you don't know about Julie is she actually has another part-time job as the president of my fan club. So we haven't discussed the salary just yet, but you know, hey. So good afternoon, and I think some of that went before me. Gosh, is that the picture they put? Yes, I wish I had that hairdresser this morning. That would have been good. So as Julie was saying, really nowadays, the relevance of social media, data, the internet, databases, Excel spreadsheets, they're all becoming much more interchangeable as time goes on. So let me start back in the day. There I am in my little black and white dress. Oh, so proud of myself. I made that when I was 7. So I had this left-handed bass player for a brother he was in a band before Wings, and they had a lot of fan club information coming to the house. So the mailman used to lug these huge sacks of mail, and they would just drop them at our doorstep. And so my mother, Angie, who is 82 and rocking, she's our accounts receivable and payable at McCartney Multimedia. She's behind me in the picture there. She thought, well, you know, we really should organize this stuff into piles, because we know lots and lots of mail is coming in, but we don't know who from, what these girls are all about. And there's a picture of the boys in my Auntie Ginny's living room, actually. We put them to work because like, we're not going to open all this mail and then you guys just say, well, you know, thank you very much, buy me a cup of tea. So we made the point here by saying, look, you're getting all of this information, but you don't know who these girls are. So when I was a kid, for pocket money, I used to be given just sacks and sacks of mail, and we would sort them out. I had quite the stamp collection by the time I was 10, let me tell you. But we used to sort these out, and we would put them in boxes, in the big, you know, the big filing boxes. And we had a big, long dining room table in Liverpool, and we used to put the Chinese and the Japanese mail in the window, which was facing east. And we used to put the Australian and the New Zealand mail in boxes under the table. Down under, you get it, yeah. And so on and so forth. And so my first job was standing on a stool with one of those big ink Roneo machines that you used to have to paint the ink on, and Roneoing off these letters saying, dear blank, and, you know, yours sincerely. And we had rubber stamps of all the 4 boys' signatures. And so that was my pocket money, was answering fan mail. But what my mother was really smart about doing is that the incoming letters, and especially from America, American letter writing doesn't require that you put your address on the letter, but it's usually on the back of the envelope, so we would staple them together, and we started making out 3x5 Rolodex cards of boxes of all the fans, country by country, state by state, city by city, and so on and so forth. So that was real. That was back in 1966, 67, 68, and so I learned from little Mother Angie that knowing who your customer is, or in this case fans, but they're customers, they buy records and T-shirts and merchandise. Knowing who your customer is just as important as knowing how many. Well, of course, fast forward to today's technology, and we can do that. But since time immemorial, I mean, people have felt the need to belong. You all belong to the AAA. There are, groups for, golfing groups and boating groups, because we know that as a group, there's safety in numbers. That's why people follow fashion. It used to take a village, in the old days, from the old caveman days all the way through now to, the guy sitting at his desk. We still feel the need to belong, and this is where social media comes in. They really have, gathered groups of like-minded people. So it used to take a village, to make decisions and have your voice heard and so on. But now simply, it just literally takes a click. So if you have your own Facebook page or your own LinkedIn page, with a click, you can now belong to a group, you can get your message out, you can talk to people all around the world that you've never actually physically met. So this brings now the point of strategies and compliance. How many of you within your faculty or your business, how many of you have an email compliance policy in force? Okay, some, okay. So there probably won't be a lot more that have an internet use compliance policy. So for example, Intel tells their staff and their employees that even if they have their own Facebook page, they're not allowed to say this, this, and this about Intel. They have to toe the company line. There's a whole manifest of how to behave as an Intel employee. So now this brings to the point how many people have policies and compliance about social media, PDAs, iPads, Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages. This is a brand new issue that brings up, compliance, potential liabilities. And so the wave of the future, if you are teaching students, the faculty that's here that have students who are going to go on to be the CFOs and the industry leaders of tomorrow, these people, they live their digital lives. They're young people, and they operate out there on the net. And so when you're able to gather all of that data, you can listen to your audience. You can analyze what's going on in the marketplace. You can take the temperature of the marketplace, for example. So by listening to your audience, obviously, on blogs and social networks and through customer relationship management, newsletter feedback, the online operator, the complaint operator people, you can constantly readjust your message. So it's very important that, we recognize as humans, but also as the thought leaders of tomorrow, especially in something so crucial as accounting, that you really need to be paying attention to what's going on in the social media networks and helping your students and your employees and your groups really form a cohesive message and keep that consistent and keep it out there to declutter the message and also limit your liabilities going forward.